What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Conversation Piece. My name is Patrick Armstrong. I am your host, and this is The Open Door, our monthly series where we literally open the door to the studio and sit down with members of the community to talk about whatever is on their hearts. If you're interested in learning more or you want to participate in the series, go to conversationpeacepod.com and click on the open door up at the top. Last but not least, shout out to Life in Indy and the team over there for sponsoring this series. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. My guest today is Kia Wright. Kia, thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
100%. For folks who may not know who you are, but are tuning in right now and checking out this episode, do you mind sharing just a little bit more about yourself?
I am Kia Wright. I am a mother, a wife, and founder of Voices Corporation. It's a nonprofit here in Indy.
Okay. My very first question, before I ask you the actual question I need to ask you, is what is it like to be a parent, a partner, and a business owner / head of a business?
I don't know what answer to give you because I want to say raggedy.
I like it. I like it.
No, I'm playing. So my husband and I do this work together. So we work together, we live together, and we parent together. But in all honesty, as raggedy as it is incredible because our kids get to see us building this journey and this legacy. And so it's been really cool to do it with them. So I wouldn't change it.
I love it.
I quit every other day, but it's fine.
I resonate with that. I have to ask because as a fairly new parent myself, I'm always like, how is this working in my own mind? So I have to pick the brains of other people just to see how they're making it work. Generally, we're just doing it.
We're not making it work. It's is.
Yeah.
We have like two sets. So we have the bigs that are 23 and 21.
Okay.
And then our littles are 10 and 7. Okay. And so I didn't have good friends around me when that 10 and 7-year-old came. But no, I mean, it's really cool. They've jumped right in. So
For sure.
It's good to have them with us.
Well, I love it. All right. So I have to ask, what are you here to chat about today? What's on your heart?
All things voices.
All
things healing Indianapolis. It's a lot of healing that needs to happen. And I'm hoping that Voices is pushing that needle a little bit.
I love it. I couldn't agree more. What is Voices?
We are a nonprofit agency. We started 15 years ago. I was a juvenile probation officer on the east side of Indy. After I graduated from college, moved back home, and just felt really drawn to do something. I was a school-based officer, and so a lot of young people were getting arrested for fights, and teachers were saying, hey, he cussed me out. You need to arrest him. It just didn't feel good. Most of my caseload were young Black men, and I felt like I was just part of this larger chain and system that was, keeping them from being the best versions of themselves.
Sure.
And so at the same time, all of my friends were artists. So we were hosting open mics around the city. It was all things spoken word. I'm an athlete. I don't have an artistic bone in my body. But it was this healing energy that came from it. And we could talk about stuff. And so I merged those two worlds. And so it started out as solving school beef through rap battles. That turned into poetry slams. That turned into, so these kids are really going through some stuff. And how do we give them agency to fix it? And so that's really how we started and just taking their lead for the last 15 years.
I love it. That's a long time to be doing this work like that. Do you remember the energy coming out of like that first event, like bringing those things together? Because I feel like 15 years ago, stuff like that really wasn't normalized or as normalized as it might be right now.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a poetry event at Renaissance. It's an alternative school in Warren Township. And I was like, give me all of the ones that you guys are fussing about. And so it was a young man that had several gun charges and he carried around this backpack and he came to this poetry slam and it was the most tender, loving poetry that you would ever hear. And I'm just like, what's the math isn't math and what's going on? How are we showing up like this as a human to our teachers? But then you have all of this love and empathy inside you. And so once we got to peeling back the layers, he was living in food deserts, losing friends to gun violence. And so that really let us know that we have to ask young people and families what's going on before we're judging them.
I love that. One of the things that I heard early on in my journey 5 years ago of like identity work for myself was about how organizations try to just build stuff like programs of support without actually talking to the people they're supposed to support. And then they blame the people, the communities that are supposed to be ostensibly helped by this program for not receiving the help correctly. How did the conversations go? I love that you could provide a platform. As a person that felt voiceless for a long time, it's been really empowering to have that. The whole reason this series exists is because I felt like I became a wall for people who wanted to come on the show. And I'm like, I know what that feels like. I want to give as many people opportunities as I can. And even still, sometimes people need a little bit of, I don't want to say coaxing, but just like maybe conversation, maybe affirmation before they'll step on the stage in that brave way. How do those conversations go with the youth that you work with? And like, what do you find has been the most impactful way to get them involved? And obviously it's different for everybody.
Yeah. I think it's trusting them, right? And so we are really, I say we're masters at building relationships with young people. Our agency is grounded under healing-centered engagement. And one of the core principles of that is shifting the power back to those that are most impacted, right? And so I often heard from the parents that I worked with when I was a probation officer, you're taking my power away. You're telling me that he needs a mentor and he has to come home from this curfew. So now he's listening to you and disregarding everything that I'm trying to tell him in the home. And so that really clicked with me. It's like we're not trying to parent folks. And, you know, even me growing up in Lawrence Township, I'm so far removed from those areas now. You know what I mean? And so why not listen to what folks are telling us? And so it was just listening to community and trusting that they knew best. And so it might not be he needed therapy. He was hungry. That's why he came in here and cussed you out. It wasn't that he's this disrespectful kid and all these other things. And so I think for us, it's just making sure that we trust community. They know what's best. We're not the experts.
What do you think people misunderstand about trusting community and then by extension young people to like lead their lives in that way and let us like follow them and support them in that way?
I mean, it's that whole Matilda effect, right? I'm big, you're little, we know what's right.
The power dynamic
the power
situation.
struggle. You know, I have a master's degree, so of course I know your psychological evaluation said this, so of course, you know, this is what should happen. And I think just relearning some of those things, when you talk to young people, especially like here in Indy, there's all this talk about how do we reduce youth violence and blah, blah, blah. They've told us for years. They need access to spaces. They want to feel safe. They're living in food deserts and all these things. And I think just getting out of our own way and realizing we're not the experts is a big key of that.
I love that. This might be a big question, but I'm wondering, how do you define community?
I think it's defined a lot of different ways. For me, it's that village mentality, right? When I was growing up, a neighbor could get a hold of me, a teacher, a coach. And I think folks define community like within proximity to them and who's pouring into them. And so that could look a lot of different ways. For young people, it's usually their peer groups. That's where they're getting most of their information and most of their supports. They don't have those trusting, caring adults in their lives. And so I think it's defined by your proximity and your experiences.
With that in mind, what does Indianapolis mean to you, especially knowing that you're like grown up here, like you're really, really rooted, deeply rooted in the community of the city?
I mean, Indy's home. It's where I built my life. My children are born here and they're growing here. I brag about Indy all the time for all of its faults. But Indy is just home. It's peace. And it's this place that allows growth and allows you to be who you are.
So you've been doing this work for 15 years. You've brought together a lot of different people, but especially created a place for creative voices, for anybody's creative voice to really take center stage. How has the city grown, especially in that regard, in that last 15 years?
It's grown a lot. We've seen a lot of system leaders come along and say, okay, yeah, kids do have something valuable to say. We should actually listen to them. I think it's been more efforts in prevention instead of just intervention and intervening after the fact. Like, let's get these babies and these moms together way before, they need us. I think it's just grown a lot in that area. Like, we're constantly being called on, how do we incorporate youth and family voice? And so I think it's finally folks are paying attention to, let's stop creating all these policies without the people that it's impacting.
Yeah,
so
for
annoying.
sure. Well, most people, I think.
Well,
think
most. That's true. Depends on where you are.
Definitely depends on where you are. And I guess with that in mind, what do you think is still the biggest barrier, or maybe not the biggest barrier, but the most urgent obstacle that you want to tackle or overcome right now?
Oh, that's such a layered question. It's so many.
Yeah.
I think just where we're investing says a lot about where we are as a city. Yes, we've came a long way, right? But we have to match that energy with investment, right? This stuff is not cheap. This is not easy, and it's not overnight fixes. We got into housing 2 years ago because we were getting a lot of calls from folks being displaced due to gun violence, or parents just, really exhausted and not knowing how to parent their kids and putting them out.
Sure.
Once we got into that, it's a huge problem. There's kids sleeping behind Hardee's downtown.
Yep.
They're sleeping in locker rooms. And so I think housing is a huge need. All of the social services that we have here in Indianapolis is not going to matter unless someone is safe and housed and be able to receive that. So I think investing into the things, and housing is some big needs right now.
What programs are you really excited about, or new initiatives? You said you just got into housing 2 years ago. What other things are you really excited about that Voices is doing that maybe the city could look towards investing into? Because I think these conversations are kind of happening, and like we were just laughing about, like some people are not really understanding it, and it's usually the people that hold the lever that might allow for the flow of water to go to the place it needs to go. What things are you doing to position yourself, and what are you really excited about that you've got coming up that we can point people to start like, hey, we need to be focusing over here?
It's a couple of things. One is our mental health efforts. With obviously administration change, we lost a lot of federal funding this year, and it hit housing and mental health the hardest. And we are seeing increasingly the effects of COVID and what it did to, for mental health in young people, and what that's looking like now. And so in partnership with various partners, Eskenazi is one of our biggest ones, we're building out what mental health looks like for young people. We're letting them define what healing and safety looks like, and what kind of care that they want to receive from folks. And so I'm really, really excited on what it looks like when you have youth and family, like building it out from the beginning and saying, this is the kind of care that I need. We're also excited about the housing piece, because we're getting young people housed again. We have emergency shelter care for young people. We have transitional housing for that 20 to 24-year-olds, and we're bringing on family housing next year. I don't think folks really understand the importance of having a home. Like, that should not be optional. That's a right for everybody, right? And again, that investment piece. And then I'm also just really excited about like our Power and Promise program, which is our youth leadership, because it's that civic engagement piece, and they are challenging everybody right now. And, kids don't have a filter. And they don't have to do this political correctness that we have to do. And so being able to let them lead these conversations has been super powerful for us. So I think those three has me the most excited.
I love it. And those are three things that we definitely need to be focused about. And I think things that we've been talking about on the show. So I'm excited to follow along on those things and support those things. How do people, especially people who are currently impacted, currently vulnerable, who maybe need your services, how do they get in touch? How do they find out and access those things?
Everything's on our website. So it's voicescorp.org. We're on socials as Voices Corp. We're in 14 different schools, so we're in every school district. I think the easiest way to find us, though, is through our social media and website.
Love it. One more question for somebody out there who needs support, but maybe doesn't know how to ask or access the support, feels unsafe to do so. Is there advice that you could just give, generally speaking, to those people who feel maybe unsafe to access that? Words of affirmation or something that you can give them, especially having led this work for so long? I'm going to quote my mom, closed mouths don't get fed. And we just need to ask. Everybody is going through it. If it's a person at church, if it is a teacher, if it's a neighbor, there's so many resources here in Marion County. It literally is a Google search away. I think vet the agencies or vet the people that you're seeking help from, but please ask, because everybody is struggling right now. So there should be no shame and judgment. Just ask. Everybody needs the help right now. Just ask. You heard her. Kia Wright, thank you so much
for
coming through. I appreciate it.
Thank
it's Voices Corporation. Make sure you check it out. They're doing a lot of amazing things, and we'll have all that linked in the show notes. For everything else, Conversation Piece, go to conversationpiecePod.com, and make sure you shout out the team at Life in Indy if you see them on the street. And until next time, I've been Patrick Armstrong. This is the Open Door Conversation Piece. We'll see y'all soon.